Welcome to another edition of Branham Safety Videos. Today we are going to be talking about the plasma cutter, how to safely set it up and operate it. So we're going to start out with some safety. Like everything, you need to have safety glasses on, long sleeves, long pants, closed-toed shoes. On here you're going to use Shade 5 goggles, welding gloves. I like to wear a respirator because there's going to be a lot of smoke coming from this process. And I also like to have earplugs in because there's going to be a lot of sound from it. So we're going to talk about the machine a little bit. This one's a pretty simple machine. It can turn up to 27 amps. So this is a good up to 3/16 machine. I would just leave it at 27 amps. If you're cutting something that's thinner than 3/16, you can just move faster. If you turn your amperage down for thinner material, it'll give you a little bit better cut quality. You won't get so much dross on the backside of it. But it's usually pretty easy to clean off. Then other than that, we just need to flip this on and you're good to go. So I'm going to flip you around to the back of the machine real quick. We do have to hook air up to this also. So here, looking at the back of the machine, we have an air fitting right here. And right above where the plasma cutter is, there is a air hose reel. And for those of you guys that have never hooked up an air chuck, this is what they look like. They have a collar on them that you can pull back. And the way this works is you pull that collar back, you push it onto this air chuck right here, and then you push the collar forward and it'll stay on there. Something just like that. And now our air is good to go. Typically this is left on the machine so you won't have to worry about hooking it up, but every once in a while it gets taken off. One thing I also failed to mention is, like any process where we're using electricity, this has a ground clamp, and the ground clamp needs to be attached to whatever it is that you're cutting, or have electrical current to whatever it is that you're cutting. So like on this table right here, there's a spot on the bottom. You can hook it just to keep it out of the way. If you're cutting a piece of plate somewhere else, you'll have to attach it to that piece of plate. Looking at our plasma cutting torch here, it has a switch on it and a safety switch, so you can't depress the switch unless the safety switch is pulled, and then you can depress it all the way. We also have some parts on here. We'll go ahead and disassemble it and show you guys all the parts. So obviously the machine's off right now, so this can't turn on. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this all apart here. So one of the things you're gonna want to inspect on here is that the threads on here are nice and clean, and there's some holes around the outside up here. Make sure those are clean also. If both those look good, you're good to go there. Then here we have the parts of the plasma cutter. So I'm going to pull them all apart. This is our retaining cap. We have a nozzle. Looks something like that. We have an electrode that all our electricity flows through. And there's also what's called the swirl ring. And the way these fit together is we're going to take our swirl ring, slide the electrode into it like that. It's really important to make sure on the swirl ring that this shoulder right here faces out. Then we're going to go ahead and take the nozzle, set the nozzle on it just like that. I'll show you that one more time. So swirl ring, shoulder, will slide together just like that. Nozzle will go on it. And you know you did this the right way if you can take the plasma gun and it should just set into it like that. If you put your swirl ring on backwards, it won't be able to set into the plasma gun. And the last thing we're going to do is go ahead and screw on the retaining cap. And this doesn't have to be super tight. Just snug it on there, hand tight. You can crack these, so be careful not to over tighten that. And what these look like, let me pull this apart real quick for you again. These are considered consumables, so the nozzle and the electrode will wear out. Like that nozzle is starting to get a little worn out. You can tell it's had some better use, but you'll start to see a big oval hole in the end of that. Same with the electrode. This one isn't too bad. You can see a little bit of a hole in the end of it, but you'll start to see a big dish in that once it's worn out. So I'll go ahead and throw these back together. So now when you're ready to cut, for a straight line, what I like to do is I like to take a piece of angle iron or something with a little bit of weight to it, and I'm going to use that as a straight edge. So on your nozzle, it's going to cut at the center of that electrode, or sorry, the center of the nozzle there. So you're going to have to line that up with your line on here. So you won't be able to put this piece of angle iron right on your line. Usually it's about a 1/4 inch gap. And then what you're going to do when you're ready to cut, I set one hand on my angle iron just so it doesn't move any. Or if you're cutting something bigger, maybe you can put a piece of flat bar on it for a straight edge and put some clamps on it. For something small like this, that's a little bit harder. So I like to just set one hand on it. If you're not comfortable with that, what you can also do is flip it this way and set your hand right there. That gets you a little bit further away from whatever you're cutting. So when you're ready to cut, you're going to go ahead and flip the safety switch up with the plasma cutter sitting right down on your material. Go ahead and pull the trigger and then slowly start working your way across your material. As you're cutting, if you're going too fast, you'll start to see sparks that are coming up towards yourself. If you're going too slow, you'll get a lot of dross built up on the backside. But it will cut through all the way. So if you're going too fast, just slow down a little bit, and it will cut all the way through. Remember, as you're using this, if it isn't down on something conductive, it will still have a pilot light that fires. And that pilot light will go through leather gloves. So keep your hands away from the front of this. It's like a snake. You don't want to get your hands in front of it or it'll bite you. So keep your hands back away from the tip of this whenever you have the machine on. And if you have any questions on any of this, don't hesitate to ask me for any clarification. The cool thing about plasma is it can cut anything that can conduct electricity. So you can cut copper, you can cut brass, you can cut aluminum, you can cut steel, you can cut stainless, chromoly,